Episode 304 of the TV Dudes, recorded October 14th, 2020. Time Crime. No, it's not sci-fi from Nacho Vigalondo, but it is an episode about crimes in multiple times. You can go forward with the superpowered psychopaths and the boys on Prime, the taxi cops and crooks of Big Dogs, also on Prime, or the rule breakers of the 24th century in Star Trek Lower Decks on CBS All Access. Or you could go back to the 50s with Fargo on FX, or even further back to the Tulsa Massacre on Lovecraft Country on HBO. But before we get to all of that, I'm Randy.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Les.
And we're the TV Dudes. Guys, we got a bunch of different stuff this week. Two shows that we've been sort of watching off and on have ended. Boys and Lower Decks both reached their finales. We figured we'd talk about those again. We have our Patreon request, Big Dogs. And then we got Fargo and the penultimate Lovecraft Country. And this is a lot to talk about.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I feel like it's a weird kind of mismatch of shows, but at least two, maybe three of them, as soon as I watched it, I was like, I cannot wait to talk to these guys about this. I'm thinking Lovecraft Country in particular. Oh my gosh, every week with this show.
So, before we get to our shows, though, it is time, as always, for the Power Rankings.
Power Rankings.
Oh, guys, did you know that some of the things people say on the internet about the shows that we watch, they are criminal, all right? But never fear, because I'm on the case, all right? I'm sifting through the clues over there on IMDb, Metacritic, and Rotten Tomato. You know, I'm adding the numbers up, and I'm pulling together these 400-point rankings based off of what people write about them on the different review sites. Because here's the thing, all right? You go around trying to rank shows on your own, you know, you can get arrested for doing that. That's against time law, all right? We cannot be, held accountable for that or responsible for that. Yeah, no. We need the internet to give us their opinions. And guys, we got a couple of surprises and a no-brainer from last week. So real quick, last week we talked about Departure over on Peacock, Utopia on Amazon Prime, Tyrann on Apple Plus, and then Ted Lasso finished up on Apple Plus. I think I just kind of gave away the order. That they're coming out, but the spots that they're at is kind of interesting. So Departure, it's missing some rankings. Nobody's gone on Metacritic to talk about it yet, and then it doesn't have an audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. So that is in 125 out of 133 shows. It's way on the bottom of the list.
To be honest, sometimes when we're missing scores, I feel like that doesn't really represent. But right now, I'm like, actually, that seems like about right for that show. That seems like where it should be.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because it's in 126 on our list is the 30 Rock special.
Again, so it's about right.
Yeah, it's down there with company. But something that I thought was much better than being 120 on our list was Utopia on Amazon Prime.
I agree. Is it possible people just... the reviews are kind of rough on this.
Read the review. It's the wrong year. It's the wrong year.
Yeah, maybe so.
We did do our Patreon last week about the responsibility of entertainment media, and this could be seen.
And even beyond responsibility, taste. I mean, I know like Lisa doesn't want to watch horror movies right now because the fucking world's on fire, and Utopia was a little bit the same way. Though I ended up watching both it and the British series, so I double Utopia.
Double Utopia. That sounds like a Baskin-Robbins flavor.
Right? Or a John Lennon album, maybe?
Yeah. But no, we're going to cruise back up to kind of a familiar territory. This next show, three-way tie with Devs on FX and Umbrella Academy over on Netflix. Two shows that we were both really digging. Wait, where were you guys on Devs? I was really digging
liked
it.
Devs.
I did not like Devs so much.
I had issues with the ending, but as an overall show, I have good memories of it. I didn't like the ending.
But I loved Umbrella Academy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Still loving
really
Umbrella
good.
Academy.
What did you guys think of Tehran over on Apple Plus?
I feel like there's no way Tehran should be this high. It is weird to me that it's this high.
Yeah, also it ruins the triple feature of those shows. The other two shows I could see bouncing between like cerebral but slow Devs and holy fuck Umbrella Academy and then Tehran.
Yeah, done well there.
The scores are only marginally higher in some areas, whereas Utopia had 60s. This has 70s across the board, with the exception of the Rotten Tomatoes critics score, which gave it a 93.
So the critics liked it. Interesting.
Yeah.
It's infiltrated the genre shows.
Utopia and Departure are also missing some scoring. People just aren't talking about it. But sometimes that tells you more about the show than the actual score does.
Yeah.
Right.
But here is the shining beacon of hope to my week, you guys. Real quick, before I tell you this last one, I'm just going to remind everybody. I feel like I should do this more often to give more context to the list. But our top 10, just real briefly, all right? Three-way tie for 9th. It's Last Week Tonight, Mr. In Between, and Brockmire.
So weird.
Then we have a two-way tie for 7th. I got to do something about these ties. Between Young Justice on DC Universe and What We Do in the Shadows on FX. Then in 6th place, BoJack Horseman, followed in 5th by Better Call Saul. Disney Gallery Presents The Mandalorian is in 4th place. That's the documentary about the show The Mandalorian. Which
so
I imagine
weird
season 2. Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
It kicks the shit out of the real Mandalorian.
This is all weird.
Like I love all these shows and yet also am shocked.
Yeah. It's like, is this the cream rising to the top, or is this something else that's floating?
No, this is bizarre. If someone started reading off their top 10 and this is what they had, you would assume they were having a stroke.
No, they're a robot. Like this is like you're an AI
I guess
troll
the
or
opinion
something.
of a robot.
Technically, that is true. The internet is a robot made of internet trolls. Yeah.
Yeah. But then top 3 is Dark Side of the Ring on Vice, Rick and Morty, and then The Last Dance, number 1. So
Now
in
I'm
very high standing on our list, number 18, tied with Marvelous Miss Maisel, is Ted Lasso over on Apple Plus.
yes, dodging relegation.
People finally got the word on this show. I've had a lot of people on my feed talking about it.
I feel personally like we are personally responsible in this room, shared virtual room, for making this happen. I feel like I've at least seen Randy tell 5 friends to go see Ted Lasso now.
I hate to nag people about shows because I figure, I can just come on the podcast and do that.
Yep.
But I had some family members who were having a tough day, and I was like, go get you that trial subscription and watch Ted Lasso.
Exactly.
Trust me.
Yeah.
Like
right now I'm all about like, hey, listen, you need Ted Lasso. Trust me. You want this in your life. This isn't for me to watch. So the show's already got its 2nd season. This is for you.
Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't even say that. I mean, it is a pick-me-up if you find it fun or endearing. But I think the show isn't like there to like make you happy or to brighten your spirits. It's there to remind you that things aren't always bad.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like things were once good before and they're going to be good again. And yeah, it makes you really think about the current situation so differently.
And also super hilarious. I mean, that's the thing. It's not just heartwarming. It's super fun.
Yeah. I feel. I don't know. I'm always torn when I want to gush about it and get people to watch it, but I feel like I'm going to oversell the optimism and sweetness of it, and not that it's just absolutely a good sitcom as well, or I am going to defensively overcompensate for but you don't have to like sports. I fucking hate soccer. I don't care about sports, but yet this is, and I feel like I end up like no, but I didn't think I'd like it, and it looks terrible, but you'll love it. I don't want to sell a show to people like that. So I'm so happy that this is moving up the power rankings. Keep it going.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
No, very exciting.
It is time then. Let's talk about some old business. some shows that have been on that just wrapped up. Let's start off by talking about Star Trek Lower Decks. Now, we last visited this. I think there were like, did we watch 3 or 5 episodes? I can't remember how far we had watched.
I'd watched 2, maybe 3.
2 or 3, same.
And we never revisited, right? Like I think we all quietly kept watching, but we never really revisited.
Yeah, it might have come
funny
up.
because I feel like we mention it every week, but just not on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when you asked the last time we watched it, I was like, or the last time we talked about it, I was like, a couple days ago.
Right.
So it took a long time for this to warm up for me. It's been a long road, is what I'm saying, and I think
I actually warmed up to it faster than you, Randy. I think by episode 4 or 5, I was like, okay.
I was liking it. Like I always enjoyed it, but it wasn't clicking for me. It wasn't like, oh, this is the Star Trek show I wanted. Until we got to, I think, episode 8, which is the one. No, it's not episode 8. It's episode 9. That is the holodeck movie episode.
Yes, and I was sold before then. I already liked the Badgie episode. They'd already had a holodeck fuck-up episode.
The Badgie episode was great. And the thing is, I can't really recommend people like just skip to 9 and 10 because they do build all the characters, and there's stuff that plays into 9 and 10 that you have to have watched all of it for. Like it is not just a episodic show. Like they are building a story here.
Yeah, which is kind of... it feels strange to say weird because really what it is it's different. Like there are animated shows that put this much thought into like the through story, but it's not very common. And initially, it's really easy to compare this to something like Family Guy, which probably isn't fair. I think we're just doing that because the guy from Family Guy started making a Star Trek show,
and this animation style looks kind of like that.
And in this animation style,
Yeah.
So it's really just the zeitgeist kind of triggering things, but. It's clearly not that. It's not. Nobody like dies at the end of every episode and comes back every time. Like you get to see the progression of like. I am so awful with character names.
Well, like Rutherford the cyborg. Like you watch his progression with his stuff and his relationship. I can't remember the.
Tendi.
With Tendi's.
Tendi.
Yeah, with Tendi. There's I think that's what sunk in for me. Was my fear at the start was that this was not a Trek show, that this was a silly cartoon that would be funny but would tarnish Trek for me somehow. And in kind of realizing, oh wait, this is a Trek show that just is a bit sillier.
Yeah.
Well, it's like it's a Trek show that is a cartoon.
Yeah.
So because
that
it's
through
cartoon,
line
they can do some.
Yeah.
They can do stuff that like the normal show can't do, even with special effects.
Totally. It's the same thing that they did with the original Trek cartoon. Here's a bunch of scripts with the 50s cast doing all the voices of stuff that is simply unfilmable in the 50s.
Right.
So my critical eye on this, I found myself like very satisfied with the episodes, but not satiated. Meaning, like, as I'm watching them, I enjoyed every episode. In fact, when I heard people saying like not positive things about it, it kind of caught me off guard because I was like, it seems like a fun show. Where I have pause is like, it's not super memorable for me. Like, I do remember a handful of moments, but I don't know. I find the episodes kind of like meshing together. Obviously, you mentioned the holodeck movie episode.
Yeah.
And that is probably one of my favorites. That, and what was the one where his friend was on the ship and was just screwing everything up?
Whose friend? Boimler's?
Gosh, I'm gonna quit sounding like
the super charming guy, Fletcher.
Oh,
yeah, Fletcher.
Yeah.
The Fletcher episode. I actually really like that. I've known some
great.
Fletchers in my life.
Really get him promoted. And, that's great. Yeah.
See
but yeah, no, I know what you mean, Kyle. Like I got finished with it and was like, wow, I really liked that season and this show a lot more than I thought I would at the start of it. Also, that's it. Like I don't know. I either wanted a lot. If it's going to be that light, I want 20 episodes of it.
Really,
I don't know.
I was happy with where we but I liked episodes. Like there's several episodes in here I liked. I liked the one with Boimler's like girlfriend and where that one went. I liked the one where Fletcher comes on. I liked the one where they have the temporary captain who's Mariner's old friend.
What's the one with the dog?
Oh yeah,
and the one with the dog is the one
that was
with
great.
all the alien freaks and stuff. Like
that was great.
That was fun. But when we got to 9 and they did the holodeck movie, and that has a heart, has a through line about Mariner and her real feelings for her mom and sort of her conflict and that kind of stuff. But also, there's so many references to the movies. They have them like they do the credits. They do the extended look at the Cerritos where which is such a nod to the first Star Trek movie, etc. I was cracking up as they kept showing us the Cerritos, like lovingly. Like that got me. The little bits of Star Trek.
Super long opening credits cracked me up. But initially, like that wasn't when they started that episode. I was like, so we've had 10 episodes. We're gonna have 10 episodes in one season, and 2 of them are holodeck fuck ups.
I was like, fits.
No, I was like, but you just literally like 15 minutes ago did a holodeck episode, guys.
Yeah. TNG had a way higher ratio.
Oh yeah,
but they did. But TNG gave me 22 episodes a season.
But the holodeck, percentage wise, I don't know, man. The holodeck was always fucking up.
But I did, as it got into it, I loved it more and more. And it's some of the stuff that they built, like Boimler just trying to do an interview during the movie. Like trying to do his practice interview of like, I'm still going to make use of this. Like that was great. Her fighting herself was as brutal as fucking Dave and his inner child.
That reveal. I will tell you this. I found myself, like I said, kind of forgetting these episodes week to week because I didn't watch them in a binge. I watched them kind of in a few different sittings. But that moment in the film episode where she starts fighting herself, I was like, oh, she's having that cathartic moment.
Yeah.
Like, no, it kind of tugged on my heartstrings.
Yeah, I like this show quite a bit. I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, they'll do more. It seems like they are moving ahead with more Trek stuff. I know they're going to do.
I think they've already confirmed a season 2. I think that's already been.
Because I was just left wanting more of it.
Unless they uncancel it or unrenew it like they've been doing. But I want to talk about the season finale. Because the season finale is like a straight up Trek. Like there's humor, but it's like serious. It is like what they did with the Borg in Next Generation. They made the Pockleds dangerous, which is crazy, and they make it work. And then they killed off one of their characters. They majorly changed one of the other ones. They bring in some guest stars and had some big guest voices. Yeah. I loved that. That was so cool.
I think it's in the finale. Throughout the whole season, though, they kind of have a running joke that, I mean, you were talking about lovingly showing the Cerritos and why that was particularly funny. Like, they keep having a running joke that the Cerritos is not the Enterprise.
Right.
in either ship model nor reputation. Like, they're a perfectly good ship. It's nothing wrong with it. But
yeah.
But, like, they they're just the Cerritos. And, like, then there's this legendary, like, the Enterprise. And that running... It's not really a running gag, but every time that comes up as a story point or anything, it just cracks me the fuck up. Like when aliens are like wanting to have their Khan moment and are so disappointed that it's not the Enterprise. Like, fuck you, man. You think the Federation sent the Enterprise for your stupid ass? No. It's like, I loved that shit. That's where the jokes for this worked for me and where it kind of allayed my fears about, like, are y'all just going to take the piss out of Star Trek?
Yeah, I get that. I think this wound up coming around for me, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to more. Not as much as I'm looking forward to more Discovery, which as we record this is starting later tonight. So,
well, it's interesting. You can't help but think about their Star Trek plans for CBS All Access, because we definitely, after season 1 of Discovery, we turned our subscription off and then came back for, I think, season 2, and then there might have even been a gap before Picard.
Maybe slight overlap Trek.
Yeah, like this show is perfect for those gaps to where it's like, I wouldn't buy the subscription for it, but I definitely won't cancel it if I'm watching this.
Yes. It won't prompt you to break the card out and go turn it on, but will it prevent you from breaking the computer out to turn it off?
No, it's no departure, that's for sure.
I'm sorry, on our shared Peacock, is somebody through the 6th episode of Departure?
Not me.
Kyle. I think
I did watch quite a bit of it. I was kind of surprised.
That may have been where I jumped ahead to
the third.
I had a moment of like, maybe I should check back in. Maybe Departure got better than I realized.
As far as I know, it did not.
Maybe I fell asleep and it just autoplayed.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right, so let's talk about another show that had its finale this week, and that is The Boys over on Prime. Which I don't know about you guys. I feel like season 2 was a notable jump up on season 1, which I liked season 1, but season 2 I felt like was great.
Do you know the thing that connects this to Star Trek Lower Decks?
No.
The Jack Quaid does the voice of Brett Boimler.
Boimler?
Huh. Yes.
Boimler, yeah.
Yeah.
Boimler, that's Jack Quaid.
Yeah, Boimler is Huey.
Oh, that fits.
Huey.
That so fits.
Yeah. So we totally did that intentionally.
Yeah, sure.
Just wanted to bring in that Jack Quaid through thread.
So I don't know about you guys. I thought the way they played out Stormfront's history was really well done. Like, we all saw it coming before they revealed it, but it didn't matter because then like everybody knew it. And she was like, well, nobody cares until finally somebody did. And it's such a great meta commentary on the alt-right and all that kind of stuff.
And the dangers of how information gets revealed and whether it might get washed away or buried or how it's going to land. Like, it wasn't enough just to go screaming that she's a Nazi.
Right. And also her relationship with Homelander, like, that speaks to, like America just kind of embraced the alt-right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, she said people don't really care. They just hate the word Nazi.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like it was fine until somebody said Nazi.
Watching her with his kid was super creepy.
Oh my God, that stuff! All the stuff with the kid was tense, but that was when she and Homelander basically take the kid away from the mom. That was horrifying. That may have been the most horrifying thing in the whole season.
And I also felt like this season was I mean, so was last year, but this season really brought home that, like, Butcher's not any more functional than any of the 7.
No.
Butcher can't have a real life. Like, Butcher's so fucked. He's never going to have a real life. Built his home family before, and where he is now. But kind of watching everybody go. I mean, like, Mother's got a family with 2 kids. Or MM has a family with 2 kids.
Yeah.
Like, Huey wants to go off and do something normal. Like, he clearly doesn't fit with them. Frenchie wants love, even though he's definitely a soldier. Like, Frenchie could retire out and go do something else, you know?
Yeah.
And he may not have said yes to anything at the end. Like, they kind of left it open. But Billy, you know Butcher's still going to go kill some Supes.
Well, and the thing about Butcher also is that I think one of the things I liked about his arc this season is he realizes it. He gets to that end, and he's prepared to do the selfish thing, and he realizes he can't.
No, the decisions he makes with his ex-wife or wife, kind of is him accepting that. I'm sorry, you were going to say, Kyle?
No, just in previous seasons, Butcher, there's been a little bit of mystery as to, like, this guy's got a bug-out bag, hidden in a wall somewhere, or, like, a bunker with guns. Like, you had, like, this kind of Sarah Connor, like, mystique to him. So the episode where you meet his aunt and you see where his dog's been, you're like, oh, wait, no. He's just a dude who, used to work for, this government job where he had weapons and stuff. But at the end, his stuff is at his aunt's house, and he doesn't have a pot to piss in, just like all these other guys.
Yeah. He hasn't been Sarah Connor for decades, getting his network ready. I mean, like, he had a normal life a minute ago, and it's just been a couple of years of living fucking crazy. It's a little bit like
not shaving his beard.
A little bit like Jessica Hyde in Utopia. From the other week.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh, yeah.
I also really liked where they took Starlight this season.
Yeah.
I thought they gave her a lot more agency, which I liked. I loved the stuff with Maeve, where Maeve is basically just like... We saw Maeve in the first season do that thing where she basically, like... She had to, like, abandon that plane full of people, and it's been weighing on her. And then
I love that came back around.
It took a long time for her to realize what the right thing to do was, but that moment where she shows up was legit like a cheer, pump your fist in the air kind of moment.
Yeah.
And even though it was I should have seen it coming. Like, I should have been ready for that moment, but I wasn't.
I was still surprised.
Yeah.
It wouldn't, because it also wouldn't have surprised me if Maeve had just, if they had waited another season to do that, and Maeve was going to spend 8 more episodes drunk.
Yeah.
Just wallowing, because they've shown us that character can just, like, melt down before.
By the way, was it not super cathartic to watch Stormfront get the shit kicked out of her by Maeve and Starlight and Kimiko?
Yeah.
That was the best.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. Yeah, what happened to her overall? I mean, we don't totally get into spoilers, but, like, what happened to her overall is fucking crazy. The only thing unsatisfying to me is that it didn't resolve further. Yeah, it happened sooner.
Yeah. The one thing about that though, I don't want to give away the big spoiler, but when it happens, I was like, oh no, he doesn't have that much control over his powers. Oh no. Like you saw it, I'm like, please don't let what just happened. Like it's an effective bit of horror. You're like, please don't let what I know just happened have happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and thankfully it doesn't go quite as bad as my brain was like, oh crap. I mean, this is the show that opened with Huey's girlfriend just exploding.
Yes.
So like, you're either down for it or you've turned the TV off by now. So I didn't know where they were going to go.
One of my favorite B stories of the year was the weird churchy cult.
Yes.
That the Deep gets mixed up in.
Yes.
Where they're drinking Fresca.
They're fucking Scientology that clearly owns stock in Fresca.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Everything, because we're watching The Vow right now too. And I was like, yeah, this is how you totally
so Scientology. It's so great. Yeah.
Thrown into a cult.
It's great.
Yeah.
Watching them burn down the Archer dude, like, nope, he's dead to us now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. I've always thought it was really suspect. Like, A-Train's like, what the fuck?
Well, and when Deep first realizes what's going on, he's like, fuck this. I'm getting out of here. And then now they just slowly woo him.
Yep. Oh, God.
No, every time that came on...
That whole Trippin' episode was great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel like overall, this season, like in its entirety, was the perfect season 1 season finale. Like season 1 had a great kind of like final moment with like the reveal about Butcher and his wife and Homelander and how like I would not want to change that at all. Like you don't put that in the middle of a season. That's how you end a season. But they set up all this stuff in season 1 that pays off really great in season 2.
Yeah.
Like we had the moment where Huey rescued A-Train in season 1, I think. Which you could say kind of pays off their story because really Huey is only in this because of what A-Train did.
Yep.
Right.
But when we get our big reveal with A-Train at the end of this season where he kind of figures out a way to come in and be the good guy a little bit, he's really just looking out for his own self-interest.
Right.
But I was like, this is kind of like, this is the ending to that story that I wanted to see. Gosh, I feel like there was like 3 other things. Oh, yeah. I'm going to mess up the character's name again, but they're like handler for the FBI.
The CIA.
And how she's
Mallory.
Or the CIA,
Mallory, yeah.
And her relationship with the French guy.
Yeah.
And
showing that whole backstory was brutal. It was so good.
Great.
Oh, yeah. But it totally pays off all of kind of that stuff they did in the first season that when I saw it then, I was like, oh, this is cliche. This is, she's got to hate one of them, so it's the French guy.
And I want to take a moment to tell folks to go check out our interview with Cherie, the actress that plays Frenchie's girlfriend in the flashbacks for all of that.
By the way, that
nice.
all pays off with Lamplighter and bringing in Sean Ashmore. There's the great joke about Iceman becoming a fire guy. There's a great climate change joke in there.
People can also go check out our interview with Sean Ashmore from I think it was ATX last year.
Very nice. But like that and the reveal of like how haunted he is by what he did and how haunted Frenchie is by, like,
what a
so good
fucking dick he is.
Yeah.
Like
oh yeah.
Like on the one hand he's haunted, but also he's to live with it, he's just given up.
Yeah.
Like him watching the porn. Also, some of that porn's recent because some of it makes direct use of Maeve's coming out story.
Yeah.
I was like, that porn was made in the last week.
Well, to be honest, that is a porn storyline that would have probably gone.
Totally.
Yeah.
It
and
is
let's
one
not
of the
pretend
things
they don't make 7 porns a day, like at least.
Well, and
it could definitely have been made last week. That's no problem.
That Vought is this entertainment company, and they're making movies.
Yep.
And there's a great Seth Rogen joke where he's like, "I'd love to make the Black Noir movie, get into the 7 verse." So this is such a great extension of that, where it's like, oh yeah, so they would also have a parody porn universe as well if they were like the Avengers of this world.
Yep. Oh, totally.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Also, one of just a really brilliant vignette was the episode where they had the kid from, I want to say I saw him in Community all the time.
Yeah, he's Neil.
Neil, yes.
Yeah.
Where Neil from Community is kind of like a montage of him getting radicalized.
Yeah, that was really good.
And pulling a gun on somebody.
Also,
in the middle of that...
in his...
I was just going to... Yeah, in his bedroom, he's got a lot of Stormfront stuff in there. He also has... There was the Easter egg for...
Soldier Boy.
Soldier Boy.
Yeah. Which will be Jensen Ackles next season.
Oh, nice.
Have you heard this yet?
Yeah, Dean from Supernatural is going to be Soldier Boy.
That's
and they were playing that. Which I was thinking... So, Black Noir, by the end of the season, I think Black Noir's in a coma, they say. He's not dead, he's just in a coma.
Yeah.
But which I had thought they'd killed him. Which was just an amazing callback to the candy bar conversation Huey and her have. Of like, what kind of monster likes Almond Joys. I loved that. Because Black Noir, like, they're all fucking terrified of him. Like, he's just scary. It's still not where I wanted his arc to go after the Vought serum reveal. Right. I really thought he was going to crack and be this wholly separate agent of chaos, like this Punisher that suddenly is loose inside Vought. But that's not where they went with him. But either way, I was thinking when they hurt him that, that's going to open up a spot for Soldier Boy. Like, they're going to need to put him on the 7.
Right.
And now I'm thinking instead, like, they're going to replace Stormfront with Soldier Boy.
Oh, that makes sense.
Like, we need somebody to appeal to the militant militia jackasses, and this guy will be great. And I can see them doing something really great with, like, Homelander only tolerated competition with Stormfront because he was fucking her. And could laser her tits off.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to get the same... That's just going to be competitive with Soldier Boy.
Oh, you guys want to talk about that? What would you call that? A shapeshifter? A doppelganger?
Oh, doppelganger. That's his name.
That was so messed up.
And we've seen him do that. Like, we've seen in the first season... Elizabeth Shue's character has him do that creepily to a congressman, I think.
Yeah.
And so we've seen him do that before, but it's been so long that I really had forgotten. And then there was a moment where, as soon as he sat down, it clicked of like, oh yeah, they've shown me this before. Doppelganger's just hanging out there. Fuck. I was unprepared for him to turn from Elizabeth Shue into Homelander.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Oh, yes, that just took it to the next level.
Also, Homelander getting frustrated and jealous and petulantly burning his trailer down.
Yeah.
Electrical
By the way, one of the things I like about this show, I've read bits and pieces of the comic, and it is not great. Like, it's got some of Ennis's problems of, like, there's some misogyny and homophobia, and his stuff is occasionally somewhat childish. And I feel like there's bits of it here, like the guy with the prehensile penis. I'm sure that's in the comic, 100%. But
love that part.
They do that kind of stuff. They do the kind of the goofy, childish stuff in the same way like Rick and Morty does it. But they've got a spine of something darker and more adult, and I think that what makes it all work and what makes it all worth watching. Well, I thought this second season was great.
I don't know how they. I mean, I feel like you're dead on right. That the prehensile penis dude is definitely in that comic. But I'm not sure how they worked him in. I could see him genuinely trying to get on the 7 or whatever. Here in the show, I like that they frame it in a lab of power fuck-ups.
Yeah.
And also, that episode, which was also the Lamplighter episode, that it was a cabin in the woods level happy, like, squee moment for me. Like, there's a moment in Cabin in the Woods where the elevator doors ding.
Yes,
and it's just a team of security guys, and then like Cenobites and giant spiders and all sorts of shit just flood out, and there's just this massacre.
Yeah.
And then the elevator doors ding. Like, it happens again. And I cheered so fucking loud in the theater. The guy on his cell phone next to me that was not like in the movie was not amused. But I'm sure he live tweeted it. But this gave me the same happy feelings. Also, I hope to God they pick up with their super powerful 11 that walks out of there.
Yeah.
She's awesome. I liked there's another guy that escapes that I think Busher has to deal with. And I like the fact that, like, there's not anything, I mean, it's not a matter of like X-Men style, oh, you should learn to control your power. Like, no, you're clearly having like regular seizures that cause a huge burst of energy. You're going to kill Like if that kid wasn't in a room that stopped it, he'll kill a lot of people.
Yeah.
And realizing that of like, fuck, you gave a lot of people powers, and a lot of those powers were very bad.
Well, yeah, and then, Lamplighter, this person isn't working out, just torch them.
Yeah.
Or even if they are, just destroying the like we've gotten all the your power did work, great, let's scrape all of the cellular data we need to make sure we've got 5 vials of blood or whatever, and then burn you because we can't risk any other corporation ever getting a hold of a success.
So that's one thing I want to talk about that's interesting, is that in addition to all this, like, the the supers versus the boys, all this kind of stuff, there's a through line going through in the background that they're showing us. They're not, like, holding their cards close to their vest, but they are showing us that Vought is trying to basically create a superhuman army. Like, they are trying to stabilize this thing. They have a much bigger end game at work. And
in season 1, didn't we know that Vought was seeding the terrorists over, like...
Yeah.
Vought was surreptitiously creating. They were Lex Luthor setting up robots so that they could come defend Metropolis.
Yeah, they're doing all of this, and it's because the show is so over the top and so focused on the smaller characters. I sometimes forget. I'm like, there's a larger overarching plot they're building to, and I'm sure we're going to see all that when this is all done. We'll be able to look at the mega plot and be like, they did not have a story they told all the way through. It was just kind of in and out of the place in between. And
the show does it really well of something that's also scary in the real world, realizing that you can hide a comically large Bond villain if everybody else is also over-ramped crazy.
Yeah.
Like with all the shit happening with Stormfront and Homelander and Butcher and the Kid and all this other stuff, like, it's really easy to forget Edgar.
Yeah, and Giancarlo Esposito is killing it.
He's great.
In just the small bits he has. This is up there with Gus Fring as far as I'm concerned.
I don't want to get into spoiler. I don't want to spoil the huge reveal towards the end of the finale episode.
Yeah.
But I will say I was utterly misdirected. I sincerely
I was looking that direction
thought it was somebody else.
Me too. I didn't see it coming at all. And we'll talk about that on season 3 because we don't want to give it away now.
Because I'm not giving it away now.
And you know what my sell for this show would be to anybody if they saw the first season? This does what any second season should do, which not only is as good as the first season, but made the first season better for me.
Agreed.
Like, there's stuff in the first season that I'm like, that had to be there, and that makes sense in the context of the story now, given all that we've learned in the second season.
The way you said it earlier, that this season is a great finale, like that season 2 is a season finale for season 1 of this show, and it is. I know the hours don't math doesn't work out on how long you've been watching this, but
that's Bearimy Jeremy math,
right? The jerk style. Like, the first season felt like a day, and then the second season felt like 2 weeks, and then the third season was a day and a half. But seriously, season 2 feels like this perfect coda that just went through, and it did introduce new stuff, and they did take on some new things that I thought were going to be a huge distraction, but they weren't. It tied up into a nice bow a ton of stuff I loved from season 1, and deepened and heightened a lot of the stories. I love how much we know about Frenchie now. I love that character in season 1, and they didn't ruin him. I was really afraid if you took the mystery off of him, he would fold. Yeah,
but they did a great job with it.
Yeah.
How do you say? Is it Yoko? Kimiko.
Kimiko's her character name.
Yeah. Karen. I'm not going to try to do her last name. Fukuhara, I think. She actually has a really good YouTube channel that I got kind of went down the rabbit hole on this week, where it's just kind of like normal YouTuber stuff, but like really high production quality.
Nice.
It's funny because she doesn't talk on this show, but she has a beautiful voice in real life. So yeah, if you are into that sort of thing, check out the YouTube channel.
Cool.
So let's talk about a reminder that you can support us by going over to patreon.com/tvdudes. Throw us a buck an episode. In exchange, we get to keep with all these streaming services and pay for our hosting costs, and you get bonus content each week. This week, I have made my way through the 4 Insidious movies, and Les did a rewatch. So we're going to talk about those movies, and Kyle's either going to bail on Patreon this week, or he's going to ask a bunch of questions as we try to talk him into watching a series of 4 scary as hell movies. We also have our $20 showrunner level, which lets you add 2 shows into our rotation. We're still waiting for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7 to hit Netflix. I did a little research. It was supposed to be September 20th. It has not hit, so it is... I don't know when it's coming to Netflix, but we're gonna do it unless EJ pulls the trigger and he's like, "No, just talk about the 4 episodes on Hulu. Just talk about it."
I am gonna go ahead and preemptively spoil that a little bit, just because I feel like we should add some intrigue back into our Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. discussions. I fucking hated, as we all did audibly, for posterity, the Framework season. But I have really I have actually seen most of the last season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as it aired on Hulu, and I actually enjoyed it. So Patreon listeners are going to be in for a little bit of or all listeners will be in a little bit of a different experience this time, as at least one of us somewhat defends AOS.
Yes, and I, having watched 3 episodes out of context, did not feel any differently about it, so that'll be interesting. But this week, we are kicking off our new business with a look at our patron John Paul's request for Big Dogs on Amazon Prime. And this is probably a good reminder for those of you curious about the showrunner level. I've had a couple requests on the Patreon messages and asking, like, hey, what are the parameters of all this? And one of the parameters are basically this. We're not going to promise to watch, like, if you give us a show that's like, there's 100 episodes, we're not going to watch 100 episodes. It's just not going to happen. We will watch what we feel we need to watch to give it a fair appraisal. Also, we won't add a streaming service for it. It's got to be on one of the many that we've got, Prime or Hulu or CBS All Access or
Disney
Netflix
Plus or
Disney Plus. We've got
even Peacock
a lot
right now.
Shudder.
Right now. Yeah.
We're not going to add a streaming service for it, but as long as it's on a streaming service we have, we will watch it. And third, and maybe most important, and possibly a preemptive apology to Jean Paul, we do not promise to like these shows. But we do promise to give you our honest opinion. And so let us talk about Big Dogs.
I've been watching a lot of reaction videos on YouTube, like the twins that reacted to Phil Collins that made its way around the internet and all of that. And I've just kind of recently associated that, oh shit, we have a Patreon level that's basically that. But though all of the ones that I love watching are them loving the songs, I really do respect when they watch one and go, yeah, I know this is y'all's favorite song. I can see it in the comments, and it sucks. It doesn't happen very often. I doubt those videos get as many watches. It doesn't feel as good. Right. But it's about to happen, and I respect it. And
so let's start off by saying Big Dogs is this sort of future noir thing. It is set in a world in which there's been an economic collapse. New York City cops. There's like a low level drug dealer. There are these cops who are in this undercover unit that operates out of cabs, and they're all supposed to be moving around in this world. It's sort of this cyber noir. The world has fallen into disrepair. Like, that was what I was promised when I started looking it up, and I'm like, oh, this sounds kind of cool. I kind of like a near future. I'm not a big fan of cop shows at this point, but a near future. The economy is collapsing. What does that do to crime and policing? Yeah, I'm all in for that kind of thing.
Yeah, I love an alt history. This is set in an alternate 2013 kind of sci-fi, but also past. Like, you got my number there. Mm-hmm. It's the wrong year for a cop show for me, but I could see. Sure. I could see 90s or 2000s less reading the shit out of this book or this graphic novel.
Right.
Or even giving this show a watch on Spike TV or Cinemax Midnight or TNT or whoever.
And then I started watching it, and it opens with possibly the most cliched boss.
Brett Cullen.
Talking to the most cliched new detective.
While he's smacking on a sandwich.
It's smacking on a sandwich and giving an obscurely weird, contrived monologue history lesson that is just so overwrought from the get. The jump. And
it was a bad start. It was a rough start, because I'm like, oh man, is this what this show is? And then we started seeing the weird drug dealer guy who's sleeping with random women, and there's somehow lurid yet boring sex scenes.
Yes. So let me tell you what they do with these sex scenes, okay? So just on a technical level, all right? There's a scene early on where it's two characters, roadside, outside of a car. Somebody says something to one character. The character dramatically turns to the left, you know? Dun, dun, you see this happen, you know? He was shocked. Well, when they shot this, he didn't dramatically turn, he just turned. So what they did is they slowed down the frame rate.
But you can see it.
The problem is it creates this weird blur. It looks just like Unsolved Mysteries in the 90s when they would do the reenactment scenes and it would get blurry. Like, that's what they did, and it's because they slowed the camera down. Now, I say this in reference to the sex scene because for the sex scene, they do the exact opposite. They actually speed the camera up, so it looks like super aggressive dry humping. Like, it's not comical. It's not like Monty Python, but they do speed it up just a pinch where it's like, this doesn't look like actual camera footage. This looks like somebody's VCR that just broke.
Am I awake enough to be in this scene? We'll put energy in it in post.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah, like, nobody here seems to be enjoying themselves. Nobody here seems to be... I'm not even sure they're playing characters. They feel like... It feels like someone took a high school production of Reservoir Dogs. Not even Reservoir Dogs. What was the one you said? It's like a high school production of Boondock Saints. They're like...
I asked Randy, I was like, is this script just made from Darlene's other scripts killed?
Yeah.
Like, is this just sewn together from monologues that professors cut?
So that I wanted to talk about our text thread. We throughout the week we text back and forth as we're prepping for the show, and I was the first one to watch this, and I was like, oh guys, this is terrible. Like, this is some of the worst dialogue I've ever seen. And then I was like, I had trouble getting through it, and then Les was the next one to dive in. And he says he's a pile of wrong choices. And maybe an AI wrote this show after reading cop Reddit threads for a year.
I finally decided that Grand Theft Auto got left on so long it woke and wrote this script. And I'd watch that.
Yeah. That I would watch. This, not so much.
No.
It's rough. Like, it's not just the acting. It's not just the script. Although the dialogue is remarkably terrible.
What was that super awkward Nicholas Winding Roeg Amazon series?
The one with Ed Brubaker that should have been great.
Yes, this is the community theater production of that.
Yeah.
So what we talk about, like, this is cliche or this is trite, and like it's easy to say those things, but like, what does that mean? Here's a perfect example. A moment, Rennie, the drug dealer, metrosexual Orlando Bloom lookalike. He is filling Blu-ray cases with like ecstasy pills, drugs of some type. And in my head, I'm thinking, guys, I know this is nitpicky, but I'm watching this on a streaming service. People don't have Blu-ray cases. That's kind of dated technology. But I'm like, that's kind of nitpicky. And then I hear beep. His answering machine goes off in the other room on his analog phone, his landline, and he's got a freaking wire tape. And it's like,
that ship had sailed in 2013.
Yes, like, okay, the Blu-ray cases are pushing it, but like straight up answering machine. And what does the answering machine do? It goes, hi, this is exposition. I just wanted to call to give some exposition. Don't know if you know what's going on this evening, but just some exposition.
Also, the plot is ridiculously convoluted for how simple it is. Like, I don't know what's going on or why. And I'm like, you've got all these paper thin characters and this ridiculously low world building, and you're using it to tell this complicated story that I can't be bothered to care about.
Yeah, so we've got the aforementioned police captain that's telling the weird history story while chomping on the grossest some kind of tuna salad or something in the world with a lot of sound foley. And it so I thought that this show was about cops operating out of these cabs. It seems like the drug dealers are operating out of the cabs. The cops are literally just silently jumping out of cars and renditioning people into them, which, read the fucking room, man. 2020 is the wrong year for this. But setting that aside, they have just bumped up Santiago, our the guy who's getting this lecture from the captain in the opening scene. They've just bumped him up from traffic. He is sitting there in a bulletproof vest, and they're talking about like as if this is his first day on the job. Like he's just sitting there in the vest, having come here, I guess, from traffic. And then he goes and gets in a car where there's just a dude who never talks to him that he assumes is his partner.
Yeah.
And like this is where it started to come apart for me, where it clicked of like, these are things that sound cool. We're just gonna have a partner that just never talks to him. I'm like, okay, that sounds cool. In real life, I don't know if you're really the right dude. Where are we going? He just starts the car and drives.
That's the thing. Who buys that? Yeah, the notion of like, oh, the strong silent guy who never talks. I'm like, no, this only works in cliched fiction. Like, there's no way you would spend 8 hours in a car with this dude.
How is this New York more off the rails than 1980s Detroit controlled by OCP?
Right? That was in my head too. Of like, why isn't this RoboCop? Because their version of cops in the future, I was like, yeah, I buy this. This. If you wanted to do gritty blue collar cops, you can do that. This is the formula is there.
There's a moment in the second episode where every cop in the station draws down on one another.
Yeah.
Out of an escalation of like a fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
Oh yeah.
And they pull like a Reservoir Dogs standoff in the station.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's.
The police chief act like one of those teachers in Cobra Kai. Like, nope, done. I'm out.
So I like an old history show. I like a crime show. I don't really want a pro cop show this year, and I don't want one that seems to feel like the solution is cops just need to be further unleashed.
Yeah.
But this is also just a badly done version. Like that would work. That theoretically would work, except that, and I was really wanting Kyle in on this episode specifically to talk to the fact that this is done badly at every level of the production. The guy that directed it's directed a shitload of Law and Order. There's no reason he cannot put together a better episode than this, but it feels edited wrong. Like the reaction times have too much after the line or too much before the line, and it throws the pace off. It's lit badly. Like a lot of the scenes feel like some of the inside the apartment scenes with Rennie and I think his mom maybe are badly lit like a fucking camcorder in an apartment you borrowed from a friend.
Also, they might have done post I
know they color graded.
So you can do the Instagram focus. Like if you use a nice lens, it'll give you shallow depth of field, or you can just do like a filter and post. And I think that's what they did specifically in that scene, because there was like some weird box on the coffee table that just kept popping in and out of focus.
I kept noticing that like in a vignette, like I don't know what the word is, tilt focus or whatever the fuck. Like there was a blown out field. Yeah, there's a blown out around the edges in the apartment, and the whole frame is. It feels like college art student framing or something. Like I know that you think this
Michael
looks cool,
Mann movie,
but
work. Like just for that one scene, and then it switches back to whatever they feel like for the next scene.
You guys remember we've watched a couple of like put together shot on iPhones Zoom things this year. We saw Mythic Quest was filmed on fucking iPhones, and it's better than this.
Host.
They nailed it.
Host.
I just watched Host, and that was shot on Zoom basically.
Yeah.
You know what I will give this movie credit for? Like, as I'm watching it, I really felt like all the actors were committing 100% to their character. Like, it was like a sports team where everybody was like doing what they were supposed to, but they just had like a really bad coach. Like, you got all these great players, but like none of them, like, they're not making any baskets. They're just looking really cool trying to shoot them.
But no, here's the thing though. Did you feel like any of these actors had any charisma at all? I didn't. I thought there was nothing there.
No, correct. Like every male character was like a metrosexual except for the police chief. I thought that was
these kids were all doing their best. At least the high school students who were in this production were doing their darndest.
So I mean, we all loved Dazed and Confused, and Wiley Wiggins did great in it. But also, it was his first movie role, and he was like 14, and he spends the entire movie pinching his nose in between his eyebrows.
Yeah,
and it's like a nervous tick, and you can tell that every time he feels like his character is overwhelmed or whatever, he does that. Only it's too many times. And I got that vibe off of like everyone in this show. You can tell like they stepped on set and are like, gritty future world where everything's gone to hell, and like they like get into like, I'm so sick of this. You can't.
This is my character.
People don't live in worlds like that. You don't. I don't. The world is pretty bad now, but you're still going to get up and make jokes about it sometimes. Like
yeah.
But every cop, every character felt like they were already scowling so hard, and then when the scene called for something to actually happen to them, because they walked in to have a donut in the morning like that. When the scene actually needs something to happen to them, there's no further to pinch your nose. Right. Like there's no more room to go. And so it left me, when shit would start to happen, it left me kind of empty on the scenes. And also, every male character, like Santiago tries to call and get help from another cop, like he needs some information. Like he wants information on Moore. Because his partner has not spoken to him in 2 days of riding around, except to jump out of the car and arrest somebody without saying anything to that dude either. And so he's trying to get information, and the guy on the phone, it is the most machismo, posturing, fuck you, if your boss won't tell you who you work for, fuck you for wasting my time. Like, because the whole world is apparently dudes sick of everything. And all I could... And then later on, I think he makes a phone call and actually gets some help from a different department. And at the end of that call, as if like they forgot a nicety, the dude tacks on a "you fucking owe me." Yeah, I fucking do. And it felt like a nervous tick, like, oh, I almost forgot to say, and thank you, my lady. Like, I think I texted y'all that I feel like you could set up a backlot amusement park, quote unquote, gritty cop experience for middle-aged dudes, put cameras everywhere, and they would improv this show. Call it Shield World. You'd sell the fuck out of the tickets.
Shield World.
I also feel like Zach Ward should have been more, but he would have been too interesting, and they needed someone more beige.
So we're not really a fan.
No.
Jean-Paul, sorry about this. You can ask other patron EJ how Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has gone over, and he's tormented me with it like 4 times. And you
if
do have
there's a season 2, I fully expect to get made to watch it.
You do have another shot at this. You can pick another show for us to watch. We hope we will like it better, or that you found us tearing the show apart amusing.
Opening credits.
Yeah, and I am kind of curious if this is a stunt show.
I sincerely want to know
offering,
that too.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you just wanted us to savage a show and like kick it to death. Like the end of the.
If this is your favorite show, I do feel really bad, and I did try to give us the honest college try.
That the burning map in the opening credits, I actually dug the shit out of that. That was super cool. I thought that I
actually had a rant before how I wanted to rip the opening credits a new one too.
But the rest of the opening credits, it isn't burning. Oh, it's real long. And the rest of the opening credits, it isn't a burning map. It looks like an 80s or 90s. Like an early 90s cop show, like Crime Story or something, where like you've got all these weird filters and like it's so, oh man.
True Detective Light.
Yes, False Detective.
Time for us to talk about Lovecraft Country. We reached the penultimate episode this week, episode 9, I believe simply titled Tulsa. And we're going to go into spoiler territory here. So if you have not seen Lovecraft Country, we're going to talk Lovecraft. I am, by request of one of our patrons, I'm going to try start doing time codes again so that you can see what shows we're talking about when, so you can avoid spoilers on shows. So if you want to skip this part and go on to Fargo, you can look at the time codes, give me the show notes, and do that. So that is your spoiler warning. We're not going to talk about episode 9, Tulsa.
Nope, this one's called Rewind 1921.
Oh, okay. All right, Rewind 1921. But they go to Tulsa in 1921. Yes. Where some shit happened. If you've ever watched Watchmen, you know exactly what that shit is.
Oh, man.
So
and what the show does is the thing is it combines the supernatural and like things that actually happened during that time.
Yes.
And the scarier thing is always what really happened.
Absolutely.
Well, and not just that, they've been doing that since the outset, but also the other thing they do, and they've been doing since the beginning, is the family drama stuff. Like, not just are they using a weird as shit portal that is unstable to travel back in time. Not only are they going for one of the worst race massacres in American history, but they're also watching the abuse of one of their characters as a child, and the like the trauma that they all suffered, like all the family trauma. Like
Montrose having to go back with them is just heart wrenching. Yeah,
there's
the worst day of his life. Easy.
Yeah, there's a
see it
whole
on
lot
him
of bad
the whole time.
Yeah,
God, I love Michael Williams as an actor.
Oh man, he's so good in this. So Hippolyta coming back surprised me. I love
that. I was waiting for that,
but that was great.
I knew she'd come back because of D.
That's when I texted you guys. The show went full Doctor Who. That's before the time portal.
No, when she shows back up and just lays it down of like, no, I'm not explaining this twice. Shut the fuck up. I have lived.
I was like, she's the Doctor Who of Lovecraft Country.
By the way, watching D transform into one of the little demons was trippy.
Yes.
Yeah, that scared me.
And then watching the shit come out of her arm.
Oh, so scary.
Yeah. However, it was satisfying seeing the cop who could not overcome what had been done to him by the Shoggoth and was doing awful things. And basically, Christina's like, "Well, I wanted to watch you die over and over again, but I guess I'll settle for this once."
So I realized. Well, I thought it was cruel that she or cool that she mentioned the way her potion works is that technically that's William and he dies again.
Yeah.
Well, no, so I kind of got into theory territory. Do we know where she got the male body from yet?
Oh, that's she dug it out of I think the cop killed William. Yeah, and she dug it out of the river.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's part of me that wondered, especially in that scene, if William was actually related to the cop.
I don't think it's related. I think he was supposed to be the scion of that lodge. Like, I think he was supposed to take over that lodge, and the cop killed him.
Okay. Yeah, and the cop killed him because he wanted the lodge, and he was like, "Oh, well, I can't get it if there's a blood."
Because she gives the cop shit about, like, you're not blood, you can't do that, you can't take the lodge. Yeah. And I think he killed William, and she took William's body. I don't know where the fuck the woman came from.
I do. She was in the first episode.
They talk about that. She was the keeper of the Shoggoths, I think, right?
Oh, is that where she? Okay.
Yeah, that's where she came from. Yeah.
I didn't know. I was and this other body I have.
And then Tick and Friends killed her in episode 2.
Okay.
So yeah, that's where she came from. I like how everything came together here. Like, Ruby goes to Christina. We bring Christina in, and the price she wants is really high. Mm-hmm. They've got Montrose and Tick working together, which is great. Hippolyta comes back. Ruby finally tells Letty about what's going on. Like, the two of them let each other in on their secrets. Mm-hmm. I loved all the secrets coming out. That was all really great. And then they just go back to Tulsa and shit goes down. Like,
oh, man.
That's when it gets insane.
I think we all said this is like the most intense episode they've done. I still don't know if it's the scariest one.
I don't think it's the scariest one.
With D was scary.
Yeah, the two things chasing D scared the shit out of me. And are beautifully handled.
In episode 1, when they're in the Sundown County and they are trying to get out, but they can't go over the speed limit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was just...
That's the tensest moment.
Some tense... But this took that level of tenseness and, like, made the whole set piece of the episode like that.
When the guys come around, when the gang comes around and catches the boys at the park, I was like... I mean, I was glad that I was not trying to think ahead or anything, and I just was letting it happen on the reveals about it. But I had a moment of like, I don't know how many of these characters die. I don't know. I mean, I don't know on this show if we're about to fuck something up. We're like, hey, time traveler, you just accidentally got your younger self killed, or something like that. Wild.
They definitely laid it in. Like, I spotted it before we actually got there, but not much before. But the Tick reveal was so good and so satisfying.
Mm-hmm. You know what gave it away for me? Well, it didn't, I was surprised. But the thing that was a red flag is I was like, how did they survive How did everybody in their family die?
Survive?
I was like, that's going to be kind of a crazy, they were in the right place at the right time. And no, to find out they definitely wouldn't have survived if it wasn't for crazy, supernatural time travel, science magic.
One of the things I like about when you do a time travel thing, and I think the best time travel either explains away all the weird time travel shit or doesn't bother. And this one kind of did that. It's like, look, okay, yeah, Tick was supposed to be there. That's how time travel works. But Letty has to let this woman die, and we don't know which one's right, and they don't know which one's right. They're not expert time travelers. They found a fucking portal. I like that. It's like, don't worry about paradox. Don't worry about predestination.
Maybe we were supposed to do this. Yeah.
The characters don't know about that. You don't have to understand quantum physics here. You just have to know that they time traveled, and a couple cool things happened. And Letty talking to Tick's great grandmother, and having to basically convince her to sacrifice herself, and the way that Journey Smollett plays that was so amazing.
That's one of the most intense things I've ever seen on television.
Yeah, that she's basically begging her to sacrifice herself for a great grandson she doesn't even know, and then she's in anguish because she wants to save this woman, and she knows that if she does anything, she could cause this man she loves to not exist. And just the anguish of that impossible situation is so powerful and so good. And for her to sit there and basically pray with her as she burns, to carry that with her for the rest of her days was just that's a level of heroic for her that I was just floored by.
Yeah. Another really great choice, and I'm not sure the historical accuracy. I imagine there's got to be some. But they start the whole past story with the canceling of the prom.
That is true. So I listened to Lovecraft Radio podcast, and they were talking in the writers' room, and they were like, they realized that as they were doing the research, and like, holy shit, this was supposed to be prom night, and these poor kids got their prom canceled, and then things went so much worse.
Yeah, because you're right. And that would be the first it's the end of the world. Prom's been canceled.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
But you can just tell there's something sinister in the air, and it's like a bad omen that just kind of looms over the whole beginning of the episode until nightfall, where it's just the chaos starts breaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, do you know anything additional about those airplanes?
I know that happened.
They were in the
bombs.
Watchmen episode too.
Yeah.
No.
That's fascinating to me. I'm like, where did airplanes dropping bombs come from?
I mean,
it's the National Guard.
Biplanes. Yeah.
Just biplanes and farmers?
No, I think Les is right. They're National Guards.
No,
right?
I think we bombed American soil, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I know that happened elsewhere, too. So it is... Yeah, this is one of those things that's like, I should not be almost 50 years old discovering this for the first time through fucking HBO science fiction shows. Yeah. There's no way that I shouldn't have known this in elementary school. I should have learned this a long time ago. And HBO deserves credit for doing this public service education and doing it in a way where it is blended into your entertainment. Like, you don't feel like you're getting a lecture. You're like, look, you need to know this shit, but also, here is some sugar to make it go down.
I do want to be... I'm sorry, I want to be clear. That was not the National Guard in that instance. Those were private airplanes, but they did have law enforcement personnel in some of the flights.
Okay. The National Guard did bomb another black city. I believe.
Yeah, we have bombed our own soil.
Was it
they were throwing burning turpentine balls from airplanes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
so that's how they caught every building on fire from the top down.
Yeah, it is horrific.
And then the fire department just didn't show.
Yeah, it is the blending the sort of real life horror with, and one of the things is this is a show that J.J. Abrams could not have made. Like J.J. Abrams made Watchmen and did well, but this had to have been
Lindelof.
People
Lindelof.
Yeah, you're Lindelof, not Lindelof. J.J. Abrams is one of the producers, I think. But you have to have people of color behind the camera to do this and to make it to do it in a way that is justified. And I think that Lovecraft Country is telling stories that we have not seen.
Yeah, this Edge is absolutely fantastic.
Real quick, can I backtrack? Because again, it's sports season, so it's throwing my TV watching all off. But I didn't get to talk about last week's episode with you guys when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a million things in that one that were just fantastic. But One that I feel like is carried through the season is Tick's relationship with his dad, and kind of there was a moment where he sat down next to him on the street curb. This is after he had found him with his boyfriend,
and they share a drink.
Yeah, that was both him confronting the situation with his father, but also his own homophobia. Correct?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter, if you at that time, it's just chances are that character would have been homophobic. It's the most believable thing.
No, I think they discussed that on Lovecraft Radio as well, didn't they?
On Lovecraft Radio, they talked about that. They said, and by the way, people should definitely listen to it. It is a fantastic after show.
Because you absolutely want Tick to be on the right side of history on this, but it's just too much for one character. He can't be right on all the fucking issues in the 50s.
And in the writers' room, that's what they were saying too. They're like, yeah, we want Tick. We want to write Tick where he's okay with this, but there's no way he would be, and we can't be dishonest with the character like that.
Not from the start.
Tick is a character who he's flawed. He's trying to do what's right, but he is a guy. He shot an innocent woman.
We watched him shoot that. We watched him torture another.
He's done really bad, unforgivable things, and so it says a lot that they actually make him complicated, but sympathetic.
I do love. We see. What's his name? Melrose? Montrose. We see Montrose and his dad, and his dad just beating the shit out of him.
Drunk as fuck, beats the shit out of him,
Yeah. And then the change where it's Tick and Montrose. Yeah. And, Montrose still beats the shit out of Tick, but Tick, we see him kind of, he seems like a better character than his father. And maybe that's just because he hasn't lived long enough to be the villain. But there is something hopeful about, okay, Montrose isn't as bad as his dad. Tick isn't as bad as his dad. They're getting better, throughout.
They're trying,
their family line. But, gosh, that and those two girls from Uncle Tom's Cabin.
That was
the creepiest, scariest.
Their choreographed dance just always, it was so creepy. I loved getting the moment on the sidewalk with Tick and Montrose it's not a full, I love my gay dad moment, but it is an at least
but he shared the flask,
which I thought was a huge.
That's the whole thing.
A huge thing.
It's just the gesture said so much more than any type of exposition.
Absolutely, and they wouldn't have sat there and gushed their feelings. Anyway, I thought it was a wonderful scene, but then to have the next episode finally drop the reveal that Montrose isn't entirely sure.
And the way it drops, where Atticus is so, he's first of all, he's like his mom. His mom was saint-like to him, and now he's discovered a flaw in her. Oh, she cheated on you? And then Montrose is like, no, we had an arrangement. And then for Tick to go back, he flashes through all his childhood, and he's like, I was wishing that George was my dad. And now you're telling me,
beatings from you. And
you're telling me that the guy who might have, that I didn't get to have that relationship with the guy because he's dead now, and now you tell me? And then the payoff to that, where Montrose basically tells him, he's like, no, I made sacrifices. All these sacrifices myself were because to be your dad. Yeah. And that basically, it doesn't matter if George is his dad, that Montrose basically in all but maybe blood possibly is his dad.
I also, I love, we've all watched a lot of genre shows, like the whole of the CW, where characters have a secret that is incredibly important to not getting everyone in the room killed, and they still don't fucking share it because it would ruin the drama for the next couple of episodes. And I loved that when it, Montrose withheld that knowledge from Tick for this whole season so far. But when it came down to Tick starting to make an entire plan based around the fact that Montrose's blood would also work for the spell.
Yeah. He had.
I love that he was you saw him check it, fuck.
Yep.
And then he has to tell him.
I got to. I was like, is there any way out of this? No. Shit.
I always want to stand up and applaud whenever characters do that. Because the show can
best part of that scene is that we have that moment, and then who busts in? But Doctor Who, Hippolyta.
Oh, goddamn, she's got a lick.
Don't worry about that blood, y'all.
Yeah.
And when she got the blue hair, I loved that.
Yeah. That was awesome. Her throat, all of it. The way they handled her getting overwhelmed by it. I was like, this is beautiful. I just love the choices they're making.
Well, it's funny. People are asking the BBC when we're going to get a black Doctor Who, and HBO said now.
Now.
We'll just do it now.
there was a lot of great tension there because I'm like, okay, there's no way they're going to leave Letty in Tulsa with the book, but she was walking awful slow, and that the portal kept going, and I'm like, I didn't know if they were going to make it through. Like, they really sold the tension for me. Like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Do you have to go save the one unkillable black girl from 1921?
They could have gone Super Doctor Who, where like Letty then has to lock herself in a crate for decades, and
the
then
only
they dig
reason
her
I knew
up.
they wouldn't do that is because if invulnerability was immortality, then what's her face's plan would be handled already.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's the only reason, because I had that same moment of like, oh my god, are they just gonna have to like wait Letty out?
She's going to have to walk, yeah.
Or is Letty just gonna have to wait it out? But then I was like, nah. If was it Christina?
Christina.
If she knew that spell, if that's how that spell worked, then she'd already be immortal.
Yeah, for sure. I cannot wait for the season finale next week.
Yep, full circle is next week.
Before we get to the season finale, quick question.
Yeah.
You think we're getting a season 2?
Yes, I think we are.
I hope so.
I hope they don't announce it. I haven't looked. I hope
that's not a guarantee. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, at this point, especially if they said we're getting a season 2, they
because it's got Watchmen vibes in the sense that like the world's going to end at the end of this season.
Here's what we know: as of October 13th, it has not been canceled or renewed.
All right.
Okay.
I did see somebody point out, and I know it's not tit for tat. Like one show doesn't get made, and another like it's not like the money directly goes to the next. It just goes back into a fungible pool, and they just make a different thing. But I saw somebody point out that the two guys who did Game of Thrones were planning to jump directly from Game of Thrones to a What If the Confederacy won?
Yeah, thank God they didn't do that show.
And basically the internet going, no, it's not censorship. Don't make this fucking show.
Don't make that show, yes.
And
I'm barely on board with Man in the High Castle.
Like, are you kidding me? Do we really need to explore this? Are we not? I live in the South now.
That's like a hard episode of Sliders to get made. You want to do a whole series about that?
That's exactly. Everybody was like, this is a shit Black Mirror idea, and you want to go a whole season. And so that didn't, obviously, Confederacy or whatever the fuck they were going to call it, didn't get made. And instead we get, I mean, not instead, but
they had the money.
Now I have Lovecraft Country with all of the stories that it's telling instead. And like, yes.
Wow. Yeah, if it was a 1-for-1 trade, we definitely won here.
Right? Up, yeah.
Also, the fact that it's not run, I can't even remember their names because I didn't really watch Game of Thrones, but I understand it ended badly.
Benioff and Weiss.
Yep.
That's the dudes.
Yep.
Speaking of ended badly, I saw in the news, this is wholly unrelated, they're going to revive Dexter.
Yes.
Isn't that famously a show that ran out of steam? Like, did it not famously shit its
literally,
bed?
like, in the last episode.
They're doing 10 episodes of Dexter. And a friend of mine posted about it. He's like, yeah, I hope they can redeem the ending. 10 episodes to go back and fix it. And I'm like, nah, man.
That's not what they're going to do.
It's going to be, Dexter's going to be a lumberjack, and he's going to help save the castle and help LAPD solve crimes.
Guys, real quick, famously, my mom never watched a single episode of Dexter, and I was just so happened to be staying with her when that finale came on. And she was like, oh, what's the show? And I'm like, well, here, and I explained the premise. She's like, that's the coolest idea for a show. And then we get to the end, and she goes, what the hell was that? And I was like, I know, I have no clue.
That's how I watched Game. I've only seen the last episode of Game of Thrones, really. All right, so
what the hell was that chair they were burning?
Speaking of absolutely fantastic shows that I've never watched,
yeah. So let's let Kyle say his adieu for this episode, because I think
we'll see in a few,
Kyle's,
don't you know? You
Kyle
betcha.
Has not, Kyle, although he loves Fargo, did not get around to Fargo this week because he had to watch Big Dogs.
Yeah.
And, also not get a chance to watch the Insidious series, which is the Patreon we're going to talk about. So Kyle, we're going to release you early. This is like Zoom school. You can go have recess.
Yep, it's an asynchronous day, Kyle.
Recess. Well, guys, this is definitely going to be an old business because I am super excited about watching this.
Yeah, we'll come back to it later.
But yeah, no, thank you guys so much.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Kyle.
TV dude out. Just the one
dude out. So now Les and I are going to talk about Fargo season 4, and this is interesting because I've watched every episode of Fargo so far.
And I've watched the first episode of season 1.
And I adored this show. Like, I was skeptical, and I fell in love with it, and I realized, it's Noah Hawley who made this and Legion, and it made me realize how great Noah Hawley is at TV. And then they do like a great season 1, and then season 2 comes back. It's a completely different story, and it's just as good, maybe better. And then season 3 was really good. Like, Fargo is one of these shows I'm like, oh man. And then season 4 was super delayed, and it finally came around. And
it's got Chris Rock. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, it's got, and I'm like, it's got
Jason Schwartzman.
Jason Schwartzman, and I'm like, you should just watch this. We can talk about it because you don't have to watch the previous stuff. This is it's going to be a one-off.
I told Lisa, I was like, every season's different, so we can just start on season 4. And so we watched 3.
So then I've seen the 4th episode as well, and I started watching this, and I'm like, oh. I'm real curious to see what Les is going to think about this, because I actually think this is the worst season of Fargo so far, which still makes it great TV.
Yeah, it is not bad TV. I mean, it's not just not bad TV. It is quite good TV. I did find myself really enjoying it. I did not mind watching 3 episodes of it. That said, I stopped at the end of the second episode. Well, so we watched the first episode, which the title card hits at 23 minutes in. It's a lot of setup of wondering.
It's a lot of setup.
How much of this do I need to be? Who are these kids? And what is going? Like we ended up. It took so long for me to click and get into it that once I did, there was an immediate, like, me and Lisa were going, "Fuck, is that the Jewish kid that got traded? What?"
Right.
Because we hadn't. You started the show, you should be paying attention and stuff, but like it just wasn't fucking interesting enough for the amount of info they were laying out for me.
So that's what I think is interesting here. They start the setup of like these crime families in 1920s
and trading these kids with their enemy.
Kids as like a very sort of feudal lord kind of thing. It's like, you raise my kid, I'll raise yours.
But the very first time they do it,
there's a big betrayal.
There's a huge Coen Brothers level, like, haha, betrayal.
And then they do it again.
Like 4 more fucking times. Like, they just keep moving it forward. And it looks for all the world, and I maybe I was half paying attention. It looks for all the world like the game is which kid burns you first. And did I get it right that on one of the tries, the kid did it the opposite way and betrayed his own family?
Yes, you did. And that was what I thought was the same thing I thought I had, Les, as like, why are they showing us all this setup? Why would they keep doing this when it's gone wrong so many times?
Yeah. Oh, I did find it interesting. I don't know if you caught, there is a Tulsa Massacre reference in Fargo.
Oh.
There's a moment where Chris Rock's talking about talking to Dr. Senator about
Love Dr.
needing
Senator.
to earn some money or needing to get the white banks on board because what are we going to do when we pave the streets with gold and they burn it down again?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is 1950. I know what you're talking about. 30 years prior and several other times, I'm sure.
So one of the things that Hawley and his crew do really well is period piece stuff. And their 50s Kansas City is great.
It's
like
wonderful.
Their sets, their costumes, the patois of it all, like, it's really great. Their characters are fascinating. I love Chris Rock's. Honestly, I feel like Chris Rock's not his depth here. I like him, but I feel like he's not the dramatic actor that he needs to be.
No, not quite. He's almost got it, but there's times where he slips into stand-up delivery.
And on the same thing, I love Jason Schwartzman, but Jason Schwartzman kind of does the same thing in his roles, and he's doing the same thing here.
I also feel like the actor that does Gaetano is laying it on too thick.
He
starts out great. I'm like, this is perfect. You are actually threatening. And then every scene he does this extra crazy rolly eyes and it's too much. He looks like, I think I texted y'all that, like, it looks like Josh Gad in a Jekyll and Hyde production. Like, this is Josh Gad's Hyde.
Jessie Buckley playing Orietta Mayflower, the nurse, like the Angel of Mercy nurse. Like, we just saw, unfortunate timing, we just saw this in Ratchet. We just saw the crazy nurse, and she's like a slight level of mania above Nurse Ratchet.
Yeah. It's
like it's everything's a little too larger than life, which is kind of what Fargo.
How
does.
they didn't notice that she took that like there's a missing ring that is clearly going to be a family issue later.
Right.
How they didn't see when she takes the ring, and I'm like, that doesn't really work as a hit. Like, she's the only one in the fucking room with him. This is.
That said, there are some characters I really like. The two female bank robbers, when they break out in the beginning of the second one, I liked all of the stuff with them.
Yeah.
I would follow those characters anywhere.
That entire so there's been two moments that were Coen brother level, like, crack up laughing for me. One of them is Jason Schwartzman, his dad, in the back of the car when his angina attack happens. Or his gas attack or whatever. That is fantastic, and just shocking all around, and just a wonderful scene. We remember the whole thing. The long setup with whatever the fuck Mayflower is doing with her pies.
Yeah.
So Lisa and I sat there and we're like, she's just dumping Ipecac syrup directly into that pie mix. That's a bad idea. Ipecac is a forceful expectorant that's not used anymore. I don't know. Hopefully I don't know what our listener demographic age is. You shouldn't be old enough to know what the fuck Ipecac is.
They might have seen Family Guy.
Right?
Family Guy made
it is,
reference.
So it is technically poisonous, but it also makes you throw up so forcefully that it is near impossible to poison yourself with it because you will throw it back up. But in low doses, slowly it causes diarrhea.
Yeah.
I was waiting on her to throw up on the other girl.
Yeah, so it does pay off. Like there's a bit of a payoff in there because someone at one point she asked, like, who made that pie?
We watched that pie sit there for half the episode.
It's in the middle of a whole bunch of other stuff. Yeah.
Also, what fucking monster grabs a fork and dives into the middle of a pie?
I mean, if you've been in prison for a while, I guess. So Timothy Olyphant turns up as Deafy Wickware, a federal marshal. Having Timothy Olyphant play a federal marshal is funny on many levels.
But playing him,
Timothy Olyphant, he's so good,
and his super
everything.
Mormon crazy cop is so weird.
Yes, I loved
more than any man I have ever met.
I loved all of that, and I actually love. Is it Emery Crutchfield? Who's playing the younger girl?
Yes, the daughter of the funeral home.
The young black girl who is way too smart for everyone around her. Like
our narrator at the start of it, basically.
She's in an unfortunate situation where she is smarter than everyone in this town, and that just gets her in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And I love everything with her, and I'm wondering and worrying how that's going to go with her and the bank robbers and the gangsters and all that kind of stuff.
The actor playing her dad, I don't think I've ever seen act before. That's Andrew Bird.
Yeah.
He's a Grammy-nominated musician. Like, he's a fantastic musician. And it's just so weird to see him as an actor.
Over from another period crime drama, Jack Houston here.
Yes,
playing.
I thought that was
Welf.
I thought that was Jack Houston from Boardwalk, right?
Yeah, and he's got the OCD.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, a nice little touch.
Yeah, him knocking on the door and and of course he's also corrupt, and I mean everybody is, and like it. Yeah, it's pretty great. So we finished watching we finished watching the first episode. Of just, hey, I've got to watch this for this week. But it's an anthology, so we can just start here. Got to the end of the first episode, and we're like, all right, second one? It's like, yeah. That was good enough for me to... I'm not hooked, but it was good enough for me to see if it can hook me. And at the end of the second episode, I backed out of Hulu and looked around for something, because it was like 11 at night, and looked around for something else to watch. Don't really have anything else I need to watch. Said fuck it and watch the third of Fargo, which that is head and shoulders above most shows to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
That said, that does not jive at all with what I've heard about this show.
Yeah, if this was like every other season of Fargo, you would have burned through all four and been chomping at the bit.
And I started thinking about like shows on Netflix that are not the greatest things I've ever seen, but which I have just plowed through. I mean, and then there's some shows on Netflix that are just like, but I like when I sit down to watch like Into the Fucking World or Sex Ed or something, or High Fidelity on Hulu, which was fucking canceled. Where I keep having to check the clock of like, God damn it, we're just gonna watch all of this tonight, aren't we? And I didn't have that vibe at all
with Bly Manor. Yeah,
yeah. I've watched all but the last Bly Manor at this point.
I was burning through it, and it gets to a point, and I'm like, oh damn it, you're about to the end of the episode, and I got to go to bed.
Yeah, on shows like that, I stop midway through so that I can go to bed. I stop at the 30-minute mark.
Fargo didn't grab me at that level, and it's weird because every other season it has. Like, every other season it has grabbed me on that level. And I feel like this is a lesser outing, which is too bad. It's really good TV. It is head and shoulders above a lot of TV, but it is not stacking up to the rest of Fargo.
I can see where they've got the balls in motion to create total chaos in what should be a fairly orderly plan. Which I could see where this could add up beautifully, like so that at the end of this season I go, oh well, that was worth watching, and you couldn't have got here. Or, you couldn't have done this for me if you hadn't shown me the setup. But it's just, I don't know. It's not really grabbed me yet.
I will 100%. I will watch this till the end for sure.
I don't know that I'll finish it out.
I'm not like in love with it the way that I have been, and that was a little bit disappointing. It's weird to be giving sort of a semi-negative review of a show that I love, really. But it's just the bar's been set.
Anthologies are always going to run that risk. There's always a chance of being a season that you just don't like. And I don't not like this show. I just it didn't. It was going to be hard for any show to actually live up to how much good I've heard about Fargo. But this just kind of felt like a really good crime show.
I will say also, talking about anthologies, I had a similar reaction to the show we're going to talk about, I think next week or the week after, Bly Manor. I'm not going to say too much about it because we're going to save it for next week or next time we talk about it. But I was watching it, and Hill House was a show I absolutely adored. And Bly Manor, I was watching, and I'm like, this is well done, but it's not grabbing me as much. But then by episode 6 or 7, I was completely in. And the same thing could happen with Fargo. It's just not bingeable. Mm-hmm. So I don't know yet if it's going to hit that level.
Yeah, I'm having to wait on him.
Yeah. All right, well, that's it for us this week. If you are a patron, you can stick around or go over to our patron episode and listen to me and Les wax rhapsodic about the Insidious series. If you're not, this is it for this week, and thank you for listening. Thank you, Les. Thank you, Ghost of Kyle.
Thank you, Ghost of Kyle. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our patrons. And apologies to our patron for savaging your show. We really are hoping that that's what you wanted. But if not, better luck with the second one. And until next week.
TV Dudes out.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.